beginning. I think the mentality for me was we have to play different, otherwise we're just gonna get wrecked. We cannot play default against Astralis because Astralis has like an amazing lineup. They have playing the same defaults for years and years. They have like a good team. They have win championships, been together more time than us. So if we just play them like even game, they're gonna excel because they played like that every time. So we have to play different, and because we don't know how good we are, we have to play different than others just to get you in. And I think that mindset worked so well for us in the beginning that we just kind of just play like that. And playing default for us was never like a thing we kind of like to do. And with time, we just kind of never did that. And when we try to do that, I think we don't feel comfortable. And when people like pro players don't feel comfortable doing something, they're gonna play bad. Doesn't matter if you are like Nico or you like Simple. If you are playing like you give Simple a Bison, he's not gonna hit shots. It's gonna be bad. So he's not gonna be good. So I think when you are not comfortable doing something, you play worse. So I think that's like an aspect of how you play and how you feel in the game.
Hello, Counter-Strike world. Welcome back. We did a podcast yesterday and we're doing another one today. So thank you for coming back to HLTV Confirmed, brought to you by XTRFY. I had to get that one in there. And this is going to be episode number 16, I do believe. Now, on today's show, there's no striker, but I'm going to give you a quick little synopsis of what we're going to be talking about. We do have a guest. It's Art. We'll talk to him in a minute. Prof's here. Lucas is here, but we're going to be talking about Sergej being out of ENCE. We've got GODSENT actually benching kRYSTAL, Fallen leaking his rosters, potentially. We're going to be talking about Brazilian Counter-Strike, of course, and the tournaments that have been going on. We got some Flashpoint, we got some IEM Beijing. Obviously, there's some BLAST coming up. We'll try and cover everything we can. Now we can talk to the regulars. Lucas, make sure you say hi to everyone.
Hello, guys.
Now, you need like a catchphrase, I think, Lucas. Do you want to work on something? Or maybe next time you can present to the class a catchphrase?
I'll try to think of something.
Isn't it I'm fired or something? Isn't that
that's probably the catchphrase? Yeah.
Hello,
probably.
guys. I'm not fired yet.
Okay, that's good. So Lucas is still here. Things are working today, surprisingly. Prof, I did have a question for you. Fuck, I forgot what it was. It was going to be a good one. I'm sure it was going to be a really, really good. I've lost it. I've completely blanked on it. Prof, say something funny.
I'm actually like, I was just thinking that you used to ask all of these cool questions, but this is just like with a girlfriend, I guess. Like you're putting in the effort early. Now you're just kind of coasting. You don't really care anymore. So
stop going to the gym.
I noticed and I'm disappointed. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm disappointed in myself because I know that I had a decent question, but I've forgotten what it was. It was probably something to do with a candle again. Anyway, we don't have Striker today. So just quickly, he's off. Actually, he mentioned this. I don't know if he mentioned it on air. He's doing some Counter-Strike. Is it casting? I don't know.
Like a Czech analyst desk, I think.
Okay, so he's working on Counter-Strike, but he's not with us here today. And we do have Art. Now, what I want to do is I want to roll the bumper, and then we'll introduce him to everybody at home. So, Lucas, hit it. All right, let's get this one underway. We have today for you a very, very special guest. He's got his feet on the European soil right now. It is none other than the in-game leader of FURIA. It is Art. Art, how are you going, mate?
Hello.
Did we lose him already?
Yes.
Okay. So we knew that we had a couple of little technical issues covered into this. The hotel Wi-Fi not always the best friend. So let's try again. Let me try again. Yeah, I think we're back. I'm gonna do the intro again. Art, you ready? This one here. The explosive entry fragging in-game leader. Wait, hold on, one more time. The explosive entry fragging in-game leader from FURIA. It's arT. Hi, arT.
Hello, guys. Hello.
There we go. All right.
This is one of the worst intros. Like
No, it was a great intro.
and I was there for counterpit for that. Put your cans in the air. So just
Oh shit. All right. Well, arT, we've got you here. We've been able to snag you. We've been able to tee this one up. Now you're in Europe right now. We're going to get to the whole traveling part of things, but how is life in general? You getting in some good prac? Things looking good?
Yes, practicing in Europe is always a good experience. A lot of teams, a lot of players. It's always good.
Okay, so look, we know where you are. You're in Serbia right now. We've seen you guys in BLAST, but we'll run through this a little bit more in order of the year. So for those people who haven't been paying a huge amount of attention to what's been going on with FURIA, North American Counter-Strike, you guys are the top dogs. Not only are you the best team in Brazil, you're probably the best team in North America right now, even though you're not there. Some people might argue the whole EG situation, but you guys have been getting the better of them in recent times. Now, do you want to talk about that run, the fact that you guys have been such a force to be reckoned with in North America?
Yeah, sure. I would say our team, like our plan of playing the game, like the way we play, it's easier for us to play teams like Liquid and EG. So I think we kind of just have like a upper hand on NA because those are like the only teams that we could face that are like higher level teams. And when we play like teams that were smaller, like Chaos or even New England, they're teams that give us a lot of hard times as well. So I think that's just the way we play. It's easier to play against those teams.
Okay, so I think if people aren't too familiar with the play style, and especially what you bring to the table, right? A lot of hyper aggression, and we ask you questions about this on the broadcast in post game interviews, and the answer that you always tend to give is, yeah, these moves, we always have things behind it to set up my teammates. So that type of play, especially against the Liquid and EGs of the world, do you think like when you're doing that, you're frustrating the fuck out of them?
That's one way of putting it. I think yes, and I think their game plan is just get a little harder to do.
Why do they have such a hard time against you, do you think? Like, because it's quite clear that FURIA, at least in the last couple of matchups against EG, have had their number. Why aren't they able to adapt to you guys? Or is it that you guys continue to adapt and they're just playing catch up?
Yeah, I think using those words like adapting or just countering, they're easy to say and easy to think about, but to
Sure.
actually execute them in the game is quite hard because you never know what's coming. And at any time we can just play defaults, and if they're just planning to hold angles and wait for us to push, most of the time we're not pushing. If you actually watch us play, like if you download demos, there are some games that we don't actually play any aggressive than any other team. So I think it's quite hard to know in the game what's happening, and it's not like so easy to just counter that.
Okay, so it's a bit of a mental edge that you have over the opponent in a way as well, because you're going to catch them off guard if you're changing up the play style all the time. Now, one of the things as part of this run that you guys have had in North America, I think, has been Henny having a really good year, right? With him popping off in that way, is that something that you expected to happen when you picked him up? Was he always going to be a star player, or what was kind of the thought process with Henny?
I think that's easy to answer because Henny has always been like a good aimer, like in the sense that he's a good shooting people. And when you put some player like that on the team and just give like him freedom to play a CT in positions that he's gonna have to kill and nothing else, I think we kind of knew that he could have such an impact in the game. And mostly for CT side because we're not like a team as T that has much space for the upper to play. So he thrives in the city sides, and I think that we expect that because Alp is too strong, man, and Henny with Alp is way stronger.
Okay, now, Prof, like in terms of their North American run, do you have anything that sticks out to you to ask arT about?
I think about just touching on Henny a bit more, like knowing like his past and like the Immortals team, which was also pretty aggressive, but in a different way, I guess. Looking at him now, looking at the stats, like he is not a very aggressive opper. Was that something like when he was coming in that he was aware of that the way he was going to slot into the lineup, or was it more of a kind of you brought him in the team and then you're trying out things and figuring out how it would all work out, right? How did the actual framing of him and the team work?
Actually, there was a lot of things happening when he joined the team, and we actually just like the public. I did not had an idea how Henny played, and I was surprised because he's one of the most safe players I ever know. Like he's even he baits more than Caserato. That's what I mean. He's just as low. So everybody thinks that Henny is like aggressive because his play style is explosive. When he's confident, he's pushing everywhere and just picking. But his usually play style is a little bit more passive. He just goes out and goes crazy when he's confident and hitting shots. And that's like a very good perk to have as an Alper, because when you are hitting shots and you're just feeling confident, you're gonna wreck everybody because it's just so strong. And I think that that's like the how I see Henny. He's like a passive player on the inside, but when he feels confident and he's in a good position, he explodes, you know. So, and I think the most part I was not put him to play like us in game. That was like a process that took months. But I think the hardest part was like outside of the game to put him on our mindset, because we have been playing with the same teammates and together we know each other so much because we play like 3 years together, and he's just coming from another school of CS because he played with other teammates and they're like older players and they have different mindsets. And that was the hard part, to adapt him to our team, the way we think, the way we play, the way we like to see the game. And that was like the hardest part.
Okay. Now, I think here I had one to do with the North American scene still, that you guys playing all these tournaments back to back always seem to still be fired up, and you know there's always a lot of I guess you guys wear your heart on the sleeve, right? You see what it means to you guys. You even had Gary shaving off his beard after you guys finally took down EG. How do you guys give yourself like little goals to keep you motivated, or because it doesn't feel like EG and Liquid have been able to do the same thing, right? They've been at the top previously, like 2019 for Liquid, and towards the tail end of that year for the EG boys. And for you guys, obviously, you splashed onto the scene at that Faceit event. But then in this year, you've always like continued to play at such a high level. What's going on there? How do you motivate yourself?
I think that's like a personal question more than like a team question, because I think everybody has a different way of motivation, like inner motivation. For me, I think I never have to worry about that, or I don't even think about that, because I don't feel like I have accomplished anything in CS. I feel like we are like a good team, maybe like tier one team, but I don't feel like I have accomplished anything. So I never felt that I could like slow down. I never did that, because I never slow down, I never have to motivate to get back up because I always try my best. So
Yeah.
I think that problem happens when you are like a top team. Like Liquid has been like a number one team in the world. Astralis, uh, even like a lot of teams they have accomplished bigger things. Like even the MIBR, the SK team. I think when you get there to the tier one, top one team, and you have accomplished so much, I think that's when you start to get like motivational issues or just having to do something else to get on track.
Okay. So I think what we can do right now for those people who are not too familiar, obviously you guys have made the trip over to Europe. Now you played in Blast. We'll touch on that in a moment. But was there any real concerns from you or the team when it came to traveling during this COVID time, or did you guys want to get over to Europe and start playing with the big boys?
I think concerns always happens because it's a situation that's never happened, and we kind of knew that's not a good thing to travel, but we kind of needed to travel, and we just choose to stay here to not travel anymore. We could have go back to NA to play Beijing, and we chose not to because it's just easier and safer for us to stay here and play every tournament here until the end of the year. It's like a small risk to come here, but just here is just as risky as staying in United States or at your house.
Sure.
It doesn't really change a lot where you are. Just traveling, it's not that risky in one time, and we just took that risk because playing on Europe was a goal for us because there's a lot of more tournaments here happening than on United States.
Okay, so with that travel, I don't want to dive into stuff that's too personal here, but I've seen on like say kRYSTAL's Instagram, for example, I think like his girlfriend's there with him. I'm not sure. I'm assuming based off the Instagram photos. But like, have you guys basically moved your like the family that you guys had built in Florida just over to Europe for this time? Because I assume you're going to be in Europe until the end of the year, right?
Yes, it's gonna be in Europe until the end of December when I actually go back to Brazil.
Okay.
And actually, we don't really have like a family in the United States. We kind of just live together, and I think just Vinny has a girlfriend in the United States. Everybody else has been away from girlfriends and family for over a year now because we could not travel back to Brazil on July. That was like the break. We could not travel because we do not be able to come back to United States because of the pandemic. And then we just some of the guys and even me myself, we bring girlfriends to here to see them because just for a while and just to be together with someone after so much time.
Sure.
And that's it.
Okay, so now you've obviously gone to Serbia, right? Was the decision like gone to Serbia because the MIBR guys had been there, or you guys already had contacts over there? It's just an easy place to get into. Was there much reason for the choice of Serbia?
No, Serbia is out of like the Schengen list,
Yes.
and so it's easier to go in and go out if you need. They like have open borders. I think Europe doesn't have open borders for US, so I think it's gonna be like more trouble to go to any other country here than Serbia.
Now, now that you're over there, I guess we can start focusing on the tournament that you played in, which was BLAST, and it didn't go as well as what I'm sure you would hope. Now, before you guys have played in that event, how much time did you have on European soil to kind of acclimatize?
We have a lot of time. I think we had like 2 weeks, maybe. That was
Okay.
a lot of time.
Now, in that event, Prof, you might need to help me out here. But you guys bombed out in last place in the group, right?
Yeah, lost to G2
Yeah,
and
G2
then
and
to
MIBR.
MIBR.
Yeah, so those losses right there, you've obviously gone back, you've watched the demo. Now the MIBR one is probably the one that's going to stick out to a lot of the viewers and people at home because it was that newer roster. I guess the same thing for G2. But when you watch those games back, when you look at it, do you think that and maybe you picked this up in practice, but is that like a shock to the system that the play style that was working for you in North America, it maybe won't work in Europe? Like you guys have hit that wall before, or was it other problems that you guys diagnosed from those games?
Actually, I can say it's other problems, but it's actually the same problems we have faced before. I always had problems having consistency against smaller teams. I think that's most because smaller teams, like even MMBR and G2, because they change players and they don't have like a game plan that we know of. And we try to face those teams with the mindset that we can just play more default and less aggressive because we can just try to see what's happening and try to in the game just sort things out. And for the most part, sometimes and it happens a lot for us, and we're trying to find a ways to fix that. That we just play default and it doesn't work, and we have a lot of time, a lot of hard time winning on defaults. And I think that's like it's funny because we have an aggressive play style, and when we choose not to, it's like actually bite us in the because I think we have like a hard time just playing defaults, and we have to work on that because when we don't play aggressive, we struggle a little.
Okay. Now, I think for people at home who are seeing this new MIBR team coming through and seeing the names in that roster, and then to see you guys still losing, especially considering how much time they'd had to practice and everything, the problems are probably considered to be I don't know the best way to put this. Like that's one of the most unexpected losses I think that everybody would have been seeing because of like the history and because like you guys have been getting the better of that entire region, and it wasn't even a team who was outside the region. It was just some new faces. I wouldn't mind. I'll save this because we're going to dive into talking about South American Counter-Strike a lot later in the show. But you guys are in the showdown, right? For BLAST now, which is coming up. Is it a week? Is it in a week's time? I think it is.
5 days, I think. 23.
5 days. Okay. So you've had a bit of practice in between those two events and looking forward to that. Have you guys been, I don't want to ask how prac results have been going, but have things looking up? Like are things starting to work out now in Europe in the practice realms?
Yeah, practicing for us is always easier.
Yeah.
I felt like when we played the BLAST event and we bomb out, I think the matches, many of the rounds we lost or even the mindset of the game was just off for us. I think the players are just feeling some kind of pressure for some reason, and we are just not being confident as speaking. And when we start losing rounds, I think we just could not handle to be aggressive again. Like I myself was not playing so aggressive because I was thinking I will not commit many mistakes. I will let them commit mistakes because they're like the team that's changing roster and going through rough times. Because it'd be harder for them to play against us. And that was like a bad mindset for me to take on the games. I think we for now we should have play against these kind of teams the same way we play against everybody else. We're just gonna play our game and just deal with everything else in the game.
Okay.
What was the other question? I think to ask her something else.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I'm all over the
I
place
can
right
I
now,
can
but-
add then a question, like, why do you think that you struggle playing like these default rounds then? Because it kind of comes down to does it come down to like the individual skill of your players compared to like other teams? Like if you look at someone like G2, that is probably one of the most individually stacked rosters we have. Even the new MIBR is also pretty skilled. Is it the skill, or is it just like the individual micro movements of the players that you work better when you have like a aggressive plan that you want to execute on the map, even on the CT side, and then play off of that? Like, why do you think the default approach doesn't work that well for you guys?
That's a very deep question. I have to think back when we joined the team together. If you actually see the guys that we have from the way back then, me, Caserato, we are like no-namers, even Yuri. Caserato had like 2 matches on HLTV and his rating was below 1. He was like 8-9 below 1 rating. And everybody on our team was like just unknown in the scene. Nobody was like a good team. We did not buy out anybody. We're just like a team that's trying like a shot in the dark. And when you have a team like that, you're gonna face like teams that have like big names and have huge contracts, like in the beginning. I think the mentality for me was we have to play different. Otherwise, we're just gonna get wrecked. We cannot play default against Astralis because Astralis has like an amazing lineup. They have playing the same defaults for years and years. They have like a good team. They have win championships, been together more time than us. So if we just play them like even game, they're gonna excel because they played like that every time. So we have to play different. And because we don't know how good we are, we have to play different than others just to get to win. And I think that mindset worked so well for us in the beginning that we just kind of just play like that. And playing defaults for us was never like a thing we kind of like to do. And with time, we just kind of never did that. And when we try to do that, I think we don't feel comfortable. And when people like pro players don't feel comfortable doing something, they're gonna play bad. Doesn't matter if you are like Nico or you're like Simple. If you are playing like you give Simple a Bison, he's not gonna hit shots. It's gonna be bad. So he's not gonna be good. So I think when you are not comfortable doing something, you play worse. So I think that's like an aspect of how you play and how you feel in the game.
Okay. Now, I wanted to talk about one of the things that we hear a lot with North American teams when they go over to
Okay, I
Europe.
think I'm going again.
Uh-oh. Have we lost him? Lucas?
He's just frozen. Keep talking.
Kind
It's
of
gonna be
yeah.
gonna be like a 20-second probably break.
Well, we can just wait. We can just fill some water. We can do the egg. Oh, he's actually gone. He dropped out of the video feed as well here. So
I see we have like a lot of Brazilian people in chat. I think one person's actually translating live, which is
Okay.
amazing. If that's
Someone's-
happening, can someone just
Well, there's so much spam. So we're going to wait and see if we can get Art back on the line. He did say he might have to dip downstairs, but that's where all the teammates are. So we'll have to wait and see. While we wait for this to happen, which I suppose could take any amount of time, we got Lucas working on that. Prof, we might just quickly dig in and have to go off the rails here. And
we
then
can actually like do a small presentation of the giveaway, right?
Oh, yeah, we can do that. We can do some lovely product placement here for everybody. So if you're not familiar,
here we go.
Where are we? We got it? Okay. Oh, Art's back as well. So see that mouse right there that Prof has just shown? We are sponsored by XTRFY now, and they've given us a bunch of goodies to give away. And the way that we're going to be giving it away today, that mouse, is that once we get to the end of the show to playtime, we're going to go through your questions. And whichever question Art thinks was the best question, they're going to win the mouse. We'll work it out. But that's a long ways away. Art, are you back?
I hope so.
There we go. See, this is all right. We can work with this. Okay, so we were I think we were just segueing into a new question, so that's not too shabby whatsoever. I was asking about how the adaptation for North American teams coming to Europe, and we always talk about it on the broadcast or on shows like this. We're like, yeah, you can't get away with the same amount of bullshit, right? Like if you over peak a corner that you would, or if you'd go for a re-peak when you should have like hidden and fallen back, that you get punished in Europe a lot more for those type of mistakes. But do you think you guys are kind of immune to that because your play style is so like off meta? You're not playing the same as everybody else. Those same rules don't apply to you guys?
I actually lost half of the sentence because my internet connection
Okay.
again dropped.
I can
And
try
I think
again.
if it happens again, I will just go downstairs to my PC, so it doesn't happen again.
Okay.
Hopefully.
All right. Well, I'll try one more time. So in North America or Australia or Asia, when they go to Europe to play against the best teams in the world, they tend to get punished a lot harsher for their mistakes. But I was saying, because FURIA plays such an off-meta style, do you feel that you guys are immune to that kind of issue?
I think immune it's like a very strong word. I think I actually don't think there's like such a difference between EG Liquid and the European teams. I think like the smaller teams they have a difference because Europe has a lot of tier 2 teams that are way stronger than some tier 1 teams even. They're just like getting better. And on NA don't have those teams. You have like smaller teams that are not so good. And I think that's the main difference. When I face EG or Liquid, I don't feel like they're like different or bad or like worse than European teams. I think that's like just a image that the public has. But if you put to those teams to play on Europe, they're gonna just play the same as those Europe.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Is he gone?
I think
He's
we
gone.
Yeah.
All
lost
right.
again.
So Art's going to go downstairs. He's going to change location.
Any teams.
Oh.
Oh, I dropped it again? No way.
Yeah, just momentarily. And then it stopped and then it started again.
No way. I have
All
to
right.
go back to my PC then.
All right, we'll wait for you. We'll fill the air, and then we'll get you back on as quickly as possible. So Lucas will send you all the details you need. And what we'll do is we're going to quickly segue over to the recent news while you're setting everything up, and then we'll jump back into some questions when you get back with us.
Okay, we need
so
just 5 minutes. I'll be back.
We'll see
Yeah,
you
cool.
shortly. Now, Lucas, play the recent news bumper because we'll move along. And I think the questions that we were doing with Art in the hot seat, we will get back to towards the end of the show. All right, we're back. Art's just going to go rejig a computer and get a stable internet connection, and Prof and I are going to continue forward with the show. So once we get Art back, we'll speak about their end-of-year goals. We'll talk about the sixth man. We'll talk about a secondary roster. We'll do all that later, but let's keep her moving for now. And if you guys have missed the recent news, we're going to be kicking it off with Sergej benched in ENCE. Now, that was just yesterday, I believe, that one broke, and Sergej has cited the lack of motivation and decided to step down from the active roster in order to fulfill his Finnish military service duties. That's great. I've just read the headline from the website, so that's really, really good. That makes my life easy.
Nice.
Now, there's multiple parts to this, but SADX, is that how are we going to say that guy's name? SADX? SADX?
Probably SADX.
Yeah, okay. Well, he's had a player from SJ who's going to be taking his spot as a stand-in for the time being. But if you're not up to date on what's been happening with ENCE, they just added Doto after Ariel stepped down. They just brought in Saw as the coach, who was the in-game leader of Havu previously with Doto on that team. So things are pretty fucked over in the Finnish camp right now, aren't they, Prof?
Yeah, this is Doto literally played 2 games with the roster before the roster change practically happening. I mean, this Daddy X, Sadokist, whatever, he's on loan currently from SJ, so it's not even sure that this is going to be the lineup. I think ENCE said in the statement at the end that Sponge didn't get to that part. They said that they're going to decide about the roster like end of year or something. So, in the previous like statement when they signed Doto, they mentioned that they considered going international, but then stuck to Finnish to a Finnish lineup. But who knows? Maybe with this happening with Sergej stepping down, maybe they rethink that and explore that kind of an option. Still, 4+1 is never good, I'd say, but you never know.
Well, Alu is the only player left from the team that made it deep in the major run, right? Like everybody else is gone. So Look, I don't know. When I read the news initially, an 18-year-old kid deciding to go and do his military service over playing professional Counter-Strike, mate, there's got to be something off there. Like, Sergej hasn't been playing his best CS pretty much since Alexi was gone. And I get maybe just too young to deal with half of this bullshit. Like, they've been under the scrutiny since that point, because nobody thought removing Alexi was the right decision other than their team. Like, I would say that nobody in the community would have thought that was a good idea, and result wise it was a fucking terrible idea. Like, they've been struggling since, and he was meant to be one of the stars of this team, and now he's just gone, yeah, I'm going to go do my military service instead of playing. Like, I know that everybody in Finland has to do it, but I was reading a comment on one of the posts, and it was saying you don't have to fulfill it until you're 28 or something like that.
Yeah, there's definitely ways to delay it. Like, it's not like all of these guys went instantly when they felt like got to 18. There's no way. So he surely could have gone on, but maybe with everything, like with the team being as it is, he thought, okay, maybe it's time to just do something else. Like, for some time there have been posts on forums on Reddit about like Sergej's hours in the game, and like his Steam was public at the time. I don't never believe that like 100%, because you never know if someone's playing on an alternative account or whatever. But he was having like 15 hours in 2 weeks or 10 hours in 2 weeks of CSGO, which is literally probably, that's not even practice. Like, so if he just in general didn't feel like playing CS, then maybe it makes sense.
I think at a young age it does, right? Like,
maybe you can just, yeah.
At 18, if you're going to take the time off, is probably now a better time than any. But like,
it's shocking because he was like the 13th best player of 2019, and this year he's averaged like a 0.98 rating, and that is most of these events. Like, last year he was playing like finals, semifinals, losing to Astralis, right? Now he's averaging 0.98, losing to like Mad Lions, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty worrying.
Well, I think here that if you just take a look at the trajectory of ENCE, things are going to have to get worse before they get better anyway. Even with the addition of Dota, they would have had to put in a lot of hard work to get the team up to snub. They were probably going to completely change their approach. And if Sergej wasn't feeling motivated to play it, it's probably a good thing for the betterment of that team. But I just constantly turn my mind back to the fact that the decisions that they've made, like when they had the 6-man roster and they were going to keep X7, I thought that was like all right, because if it didn't work out with Aerial and X7's positions, he just put X7 back, and then X7 ended up getting fucked. It's like the decisions that ENCE have made have all been bad choices. Like, you couldn't argue that they've been good choices.
It's really weird how they managed to, like, at all points seemingly, like, it's easy to say that in hindsight. Like, it's easy to say in hindsight, oh, you should have done. But if you do like 3 moves and in hindsight all of them are wrong, then like it's hard to say that as just like unlucky with picking stuff. It has to be something about the way you're doing the decisions that's simply not good. I don't know what else to say, right?
Yeah.
Hello guys, I'm back.
Hey, there we go.
Really sorry about that.
No problems, man. It's all good. Sometimes this shit happens. It's technical issues. It happens all the time, but it's good. I'm glad we got you back. Thank you for running downstairs. Much appreciated. We've just been talking. We'll come back to the hot seat questions a bit later in the show. We've moved on to the recent news now, just to catch you up. We've been talking about Sergej stepping out of ENCE. Do you have any thoughts about ENCE or this roster move or anything along those lines?
To be honest, I just saw the news today. I think I was just too focused on practicing.
Sure.
But I think he left like it was his choice, right?
Yeah, he
talking
benched
about
himself.
military service.
That's the one.
Oh, I don't know. I think that the ENCE lineup is a pretty solid one. I think if they make up to be a solid team to practice and being together, I think they can be a very good team.
Yeah, and that's half the problem in what we were discussing there, because things were starting to look a little bit better in the sense of they have Sunny, right? He's obviously previously in his career a star fragger. We know that Alu is a very good, competent AWPer. Yampy is very explosive as a player, and he's starting to bring some good impact on entries. Then they just added Doto, who looks like he was going to be more of a supportive, more passive player for the team, which is probably something they needed. And that meant that Sergej would get most of his rifling roles and positions. But we touched on the fact that he's only 18, and that if he's not feeling motivation for the game, stepping down now, might be a good choice. But it just seems like a shame because ENCE, they've finally completely retooled their team. It feels like a completely fresh project, and it's just not going to happen. We're not going to see them playing in the future. So we don't know how this is going to end up. We're going to have to wait and see. I don't even know what ENCE's next event is. Do they have anything coming up?
They're doing DreamHack Winter, the event where FURIA is also playing there, and Liquid, I think. Like it's pretty stacked. So.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough for them to play without like Sergej. He was like kind of like star player for them. It's gonna be very tough.
Yeah, to replace that with
I don't think
anyone.
they have a player to replace yet.
He's just listed as a stand-in at this stage. So he's from SJ. We didn't know how to say his name. It was Sadix maybe, or something along those lines. I don't know how you pronounce it, but either way, it's just listed as a stand-in. So we'll have to wait and see. What we'll do is we'll keep the recent news moving along here. We've got another one to do with the benching. But this is to do with GODSENT benching kRYSTAL. Now, we'd spoken to kRYSTAL earlier in the year. We'd spoken about this rumored news, the fact that maybe EMI was standing in for them at some point. And there's even been rumors, not standing in, but playing for them. And there's even been rumors about the team being bought by FPX. But now he's finally been benched and made a statement about it. Did you read it, Prof?
Did he have a full statement?
I think it was just a tweet. I think it was just.
I think it was just like the sentiment that he gave was like, "I'm fucked again. Why is this happening to me?"
Yeah.
Which is like a fair sentiment to have because he is fucked again, and it happened again after all of these times. But it's just a thing that I guess teams will always do to a guy that is on his level. Number-wise, regardless of everything that he does on the server, when they think that they need something else to break through a plateau, which GODSENT have been on, I think for like 5 to 6 months, and Fardig's edition didn't really help in that either, which is maybe even more worrying than this, because if you replace Michaelele with a young up-and-coming Opper, you expect like some boost in results, which they didn't. I think they're pretty much on the same place they were with Michaelele.
Yeah.
So yeah, now they're benching kRYSTAL and seeing what's going to happen. I don't know who they are getting. Obviously not figured out yet. But EMI, I saw even he's playing in practices with them. So I don't know if that's still going on or not.
This is going to tie into one of the later points that we have here to do with the Fallen and Fur leaked plans. So we can probably ask some more pointed questions once we get down to that one. But arT, like GODSENT as a team, I don't know how much of them you've had an opportunity to practice against, or if you watch too many of their demos. But if you have, or do you see what the problems with this team are? Because kRYSTAL clearly wasn't contributing a lot stats-wise, but he was obviously doing a lot for the team in terms of strategy and trying to make a lot of space for players.
I actually never watched their demos. I think when they're like playing so well, I think it was like start of the year or maybe to the middle. I think we just focus on NA teams. I never really watch Europe playing, and even if I watch, I don't watch like in the eyes of what's happening there. Just like looking at the strategies and see if I can get something out, or just watching because I watch CS like a regular player. So I don't really have like an input to do for GODSENT. I don't know the players as well.
Okay, what if we frame the question this way? Because kRYSTAL, statistically speaking, was not a great fragging in-game leader, right? Do you think today in modern Counter-Strike there's not space for those type of in-game leaders? Everybody has to make sure that they're getting good numbers now.
That's a very tough question because it's like a mix between those, I would say, because today most teams, like Tier 1 teams, all their 5 players are like good aimers. I think that's like a meta because the better teams have all 5 players very good aim-wise. But at the same time, sometimes you have some players that are very amazing aim-wise, but they don't really put much effort on other areas. They don't communicate well. They don't have like good ideas. They don't have like they don't what's the sentence for that in English? Like they don't take the responsibility in the game to make plays and decide the games. Some players are just like that. They just don't play passive and they take like the actions they need to win the game. And some players that do that, they don't have like good aim. I myself am not like an amazing aimer. My aim is okay, but I compensate on that by being like taking a lot of actions in game to help my team. And if I don't frag well, it's like I think it's like a fate for me that I would like be bench sometime in the future. So I think that's like something you have to think about, like aiming wise and strategy wise. And some teams they have like good aimers, but they don't have like those people that make the team play better. So I think that's like it's a tough. Do you have in betweens to have a good team? You have to get players that have amazing aim and some players that know what theoretically have to do to win the game and have like responsibility to win the game. So it's a tough question because I never watch him play to see if he's actually not fragging. Because sometimes he's just fragging, but he's just not killing. He's just not farming KD. He's not baiting, so his frags are not good.
I think one thing that you touched on here is like obviously like there are players that need additional like micromanaging, something we talked about with Kerrigan as well. Like his take on why FaZe kind of fell down was that some of these players needed that like small push, like I'll go here and you can trade me. It's not like they'll teach them how to play CS and like micromanage everything in a retake or something. It's just like, okay, I'll do this, help me, and after you do that small move, you leave the player and he's gonna win the round, right? And when you look at GODSENT, I think theoretically their players have been playing better than we expect them to. And if they don't carry on playing at this level, it's gonna be probably because of kRYSTAL, right? And we can't always know this before the change happens.
Yeah.
But it's at like thinking about it now, if there's someone that's lifting these players, like Zen being like a super consistent fragger when maybe he's just like an okay player, right? Maybe Sicko isn't going to be that good if he doesn't have someone like kRYSTAL in the team. Maybe Madden is not going to be on the same level. So maybe he is the reason why this is happening. I can't say 100%, but it would make sense that his sacrificing is pushing them to another level, and that only when he is removed, they'll see that, yeah, like the team isn't that good without someone doing all of this that he was doing. Theoretically, maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
But maybe on the
Yeah, I have
end,
a feeling that it happens to Alex Sib when he left the team.
Yeah,
I think that was just the same idea. I just think he has an impact of making other players better and not really pondering, thinking about his KD or if he's fragging in like stats wise. Because most of the time, if you just watch CS, you know that some players are just playing like passive positions. Most of the IGLs, like Kerrigan and other IGLs, are like passive in the game. They are supporting. Those players are not getting any kills, like any easier kills. The players that are getting easier kills are the ones that are getting the support to kill the traders and the lurkers. So most of the time when you see EGL stats, he's just focusing on making other players play the game better and kill and focus on just killing. And he is always thinking about what's happening, what nades do you have, what you should do, how you should do. And I don't think it's like fair to judge kRYSTAL by his fragging stats, you know.
Yeah, who did we have on recently, Prof, when we were talking about this as well? And
was
it was
Cadian,
saying
maybe
it might have been where we were talking about it could have been even before Cadian, where we were talking about maybe if kRYSTAL, put more focus on himself and tried to play for himself a little bit more, in the sense of obviously he's doing a lot for the team strat wise, he's doing a lot for the team in terms of making room and going in first so that Madden can get the trade kill, right? But it must have been Cadian, because I think he was saying if he just went in and tried to kill him, he could probably get that opening duel, but he's always putting his body on the line instead of sometimes just going for the frag. So, look, it's one of those things we're going to have to wait and see and monitor. And let's keep this moving because we got another international team who, with a bit of news, they've just added mithR. This is Mouse Sports. They've added mithR as a coach. Now, mithR was previously a coach of North. Has come up through the Danish scene, and then he was coaching Renegades from Denmark, waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning in CET to be able to coach that team down under, who are yet to drop a tournament in the year. Something fucking crazy for the Renegades down there, just owning everybody. But Prof, what do you make of this pickup for Mouse? Is this what you were expecting?
Kind of, yeah, in a way. Like this is the similar style of a coach to Regen. I feel like he's not like a big name. I mean, he has been in the scene and people know that he exists, but he's not like a Zonic. He's not like even a Yanko that is like a big brand or something. I think Kerrigan realized that this is the type of the coach that he wants to work with, is someone that's going to have his back in the team. rather than any of the other players. So he's a Danish guy that probably knows kRYSTAL from before, looks up to him as one of the most decorated Danish in-game leaders, right? So there's going to be a good, just like a support network for kRYSTAL primarily, and then for the other players, because I think what happened in FaZe is kind of a learning lesson for kRYSTAL to not have your star player invite one of his best friends to coach the team, because that's not going to secure you any good favors, and if anything goes wrong, right? There's no way that if it's like a Nico versus kRYSTAL 50-50 argument that Janko is going to side with kRYSTAL. I don't see that happening. Of course, like, you can always think of his like knowledge and what he thinks about the game, but the emotional side is, I think, something that we can't, like, as humans, you can't really ignore that.
I think mithR as an individual as well is probably not going to be as this sounds probably worse than it's meant to, but as friendly with the players. Like, I always looked at like Regin kind of like one of the boys with like Robs and Christian, you know, like the way that they dress or the way that they like hang out and stuff. That whereas I look at mithR, like he carries himself like a teacher. Right.
I mean,
like,
he that's what he did before. He did, like, he worked in a Danish like esports school or something. So that's essentially what he did.
And he's dealing with quite young individuals, right? With BMAS, Frozen, and obviously Rops in the mix there. He has some younger players, some quite malleable individuals right there that he can definitely have an impact on. And I think as well, he isn't necessarily the type of coach that they need to like get the team fired up, right? Like kRYSTAL does a lot of that. You get Christian doing a bunch of that. He's kind of I'm looking at him as more like an individual to be doing all the hard prep work to help alleviate a bit of pressure on kRYSTAL and to contribute to the team in that way. Now, with the whole coaching player dynamic, right? We're talking about like what this one here might be with mithR and kRYSTAL. What type of coaching dynamic do you and Gary have? Is it like Gary's the boss or do you guys like have like a mutual kind of working relationship? How does it go in your team?
I have to say, coach is like one of the most fundamental pieces of a team, because just like Mouse, when you have a team that like have such young players, like we have like 3 people that was playing FURIA with 18 years and 19, 17 even, and like, just like Mouse Sports have 3 players. It's Bimas, Frozen, and Rops. They are like very young players, and sometimes with players younger, you have like problems outside of the game, or problems just listening, or problems with arguments. And a coach, the most fundamental role in the team he has, it's basically just being like the final voice and the guy who is deciding the good things for the team. Like me and Gary, I can only talk by experience because I did not play on other teams with other coaches many times, but on our team, me and Gary, we work together a lot, but his decision are the finals, mostly about things that are not generally like outside of the game, not tactical wise. Tactical wise, how to play CS, we talk together a lot, like directly, but he's like a boss for us. So his word is final. If he wants us to play 7 maps a day, we have to play 7 maps a day, because he's thinking about our best interest. He's not thinking about himself or anything like any personal stuff. He's just thinking what's good for us. And sometimes the player doesn't know what's better for him. So that's his job to balance those things out, and just be like the voice that has the reason within the team, so we don't get like arguments with each other. So basically, everybody who has a problem, they don't talk to each other. If Yuri has a problem with kRYSTAL, he's not directly just insulting him or just telling bad stuff for him. He's talking to Gehi or to me, and if he talks to me, I usually just bring to Gehi to solve the problem.
How are we meant to say his name? Because in English, I don't think I could do that. How is it in Portuguese?
It's Gehi.
Jesus. Okay.
It's quite hard.
Okay.
I know.
Jerry,
Yeah, that was good.
Gehi?
Yeah, Shada
Okay.
has a Brazilian, inner Brazilian in himself.
I'll practice. I'll get some good practice in. All right. So I now want to actually talk about something a little bit closer to home for the Brazilian fans out there. And this is now I didn't look at how this appeared, Prof. Do you know what happened with the whole Fallen and for leaked plans?
He was streaming, and there was a notepad open, and he was like opening, closing tabs, and that was on the. It looked so perfect. I thought it was framed. I thought it was just like classic Fallen. Let's get into the spotlight. Someone, I'll just like write some names down, and like accidentally leave the notepad open. Like that's how it looked to me. And then later he even confirmed that there is something that, like, it's not like there are like advanced talks. These are like some of his ideas and maybe something he discussed with a few players, but it's not like it's happening tomorrow or something.
Sure. Okay. Well, those before we jump into it, I saw that Fallen got engaged, so congratulations to Fallen on that. But we'll keep going. What were the rosters that he had written down? What were
I needed to Google it so I don't get it wrong. So it was Fallen and Fur, and the first one was like a Brazilian one. So Bolts, Cello, and
SHZ, yep.
Bruno Martinelli. Yep. And then the other one was the trio from GODSENT, which is Stico, Zen, and Madden.
Okay, so with Fur and Fallen.
Those were the names.
Okay. So out of those two that Profs just said there, arT, which one would, if either of those were real, and which team would you prefer to see? The full Brazilian one or a European Brazilian mix?
I always more inclined to say the Brazilian, because it's nice to have a full Brazilian roster, but I also think that the European team is not a really bad idea. I think it's a good idea actually, and I also think Boom is a good promise. Like the players that are taking the trio, I think they have a good promise on the 5-man roster. So I would like to see them together. So hopefully he goes through the European way. So you have 2 teams, and it's gonna be better in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Boom have been like what Renegades have been in Australia. They have been in Brazil recently. Maybe not the last month, but the last time I checked, they won literally everything that they played in
they
Brazil.
won every tournament they played. Yeah, they're like a very good team coming up, and hopefully they stick together.
So who's on that Boom roster right now? Excuse my ignorance. I haven't been keeping up with the stuff.
And Shiz, and Phelps and Yell. That's the lineup. Even though there have been some rumors about Phelps going somewhere and something else happening, but nothing materialized yet, at least.
Well, we've all seen Phelps and Fur holding the B bomb site on Inferno together before, so let's try and avoid that one if we can. We don't want to see that one again. That was not good.
Do you think, arT, that Fallen could like in-game lead a European team to like a lot of success? Like, would that be the thing that would it be too hard of a task at this point in his career, or would it be the thing that he really needs to kind of reinvigorate everything? Well, I'm not sure where I stand.
I think that Fallen can always, because he's 29 now, right? At any point, he can always go back to Brazil and still be the godfather of Brazilian Counter-Strike, or coach a team, or be an in-game leader of the young up-and-comers, and kind of help at any point, right? So I don't see any rush for him having to go back to that. I actually think trying something new. He already tried playing with some North Americans, right? They had the whole Tarek Stew situation. I think if he was based in Europe full time, and he had an influx of players who were helping, and that he was open to getting fed new ideas of how to approach the game, I think then, I because he's obviously a good mind for the game, right? I just think that there's been a lot of things on his plate in terms of the empire that Fallen has built. And then he's always had the same inputs, whether it be from the same coach or same manager or same teammates around him. He's always kind of had the same methodology, right? I would love to see him put into a completely different environment where he gets some younger players, or some, like I said, players with some fresher ideas, and kind of see how that all blends together. Because there's always the moments where we're Fallen. We see those Fallen moments with the AWP, and he's looking hot to trot. But I just think that the way that MIBR, when he was still a part of the team towards the tail end, I know KNG took over in-game leading for a little period of time, but it felt very stale, and it didn't feel like up to 2020 Counter-Strike. That was one of my feelings. I guess what we can do right there is pivot that into you, arT. What did you feel was the demise of that old MIBR roster, and now Fallen and everybody kind of being in, I don't know if it's free agency, but on the market?
I think Fallen is still like he's one of the best Alpers in Brazil, and he proved himself. We don't have to say anything. He's one of the best IGLs and Alpers in Brazil, and he's a very smart player as well, and person. So I don't think it's gonna be such a problem for him to adapt for the new way of playing. I think he was a little stubborn in the beginning of the year to keep playing like the old days. Maybe I don't know how they solved it. If they are just playing like the old days or trying something different or just mixing up. I don't know what's happening in the insights, but I don't see. I think it's gonna be actually a good idea to put him with like 3 new younger players. But he has to be the AGL. It's not gonna work if he's not AGL. I think
I
he's
agree.
just too
Yeah.
good to be IGL and Alper. And if he's put in a position where he's just an Alper, he's gonna lose what makes him a star player. He's not just gonna be like a normal Alper. So I think if he's Alping and IGLing and he has young players and he's willing to open his mind and yeah, I think that's just what he's doing when he's choosing to play with those guys in Europe. Just being open for a new team, new ideas, and just trying to play again. Because I don't think he even lost his form from the other days. I saw him playing against him, and he's just same guy. He's playing up very well, and I don't see any problem with him. I think he just has to get a new team and work out how they're gonna play.
Do you think that he needs to have players in his team, especially if he wants to keep playing with Fur? Do you feel like the majority of the other players in that team need to be, I don't want to say passive players, but they need to be more, we call it like a safe pair of hands, where they're not supportive players, they're more like anchor players, where in case Fallen or Fur goes aggressive and they die, that they can get a couple? Because I feel like in the last few MIBR iterations, there was too many aggressive players, right? You had Fallen, you had Fur, you had KNG. They all love some aggression, and it felt like if they died, what they would try and do is go more aggressive instead of being able to win in those number disadvantage situations. So what do you think? What type of players do you think would help complement Fallen?
I have to say, if he gets 3 younger players, doesn't really matter the play style of those players, because
Okay.
if they're young, they're open to play as a team. They can be the most aggressive players ever. They're gonna play in the same page. They're gonna play aggressive when they want to, and I think they just like they cannot have a clash of ideas if they are at a unit together. They can make it work. Doesn't matter how the other players are. Can be 2 aggressive ones, 2 passive ones. But I think if Fair and Fallen get to play more aggressive, maybe 1 or 2 players passive and 1 aggressive, it's just fine.
Okay. All right. Nothing
I
crazy.
have a question.
Yeah.
Talking about like passive players, Fallen Fur, and all of that dynamic. Do you think that MIBR, if they gotten kRYSTAL back when they tried to originally get him, I think that was like 2018. Do you think that the team would have stayed like a top 10 contender, that they wouldn't end up like disbanding practically the roster? Would getting like either Yuri or kRYSTAL back in the time that they want to get them, would that change the future of the lineup?
Maybe, but I don't think so. I think the problem they had was more like maybe a mindset problem, maybe a structural problem. I don't think it's like skill wise. They have skilled players and they chose skilled players to play with, in like 2 tries. And they could have a lot of players from Brazil that are very skilled, just as much as Castrato or Yuri. And I don't think the problem was not hitting shots. I think the problem was the way they're trying to play the game, or even I don't know what's happening inside. I think that's the question they only can answer by themselves. I don't think I have an input that's gonna be true. In my vision, I think it could help them because they were like a good team, but they needed a little more to be a better team. But I also think that would not change like the fate of like uh the station they were. Like they're not gonna win the majors just by changing 2 players because they are like good aimers. It's not gonna happen like that.
Okay. Well, I think with that, what we can do is we can actually move on to a team that's been assembled with a formula in mind, because we'll keep this one trucking along. We're going to move into the most recent kind of tournaments and results and bits and bobs that we've seen around the traps, and one of which, this one here, has been titled Cloud9 Flashpoint Debacle. Now, whether or not we want to use the term debacle, I guess that depends on which lens you look at this one through. Now, people are gonna assume my bias because I'm good friends with Henry. We even lived together when we're both home. But this Cloud9 debut in Flashpoint, if you look at it, it doesn't really even matter about the results in the server. Just on paper, they came dead last in their group. Once we start adding a bit of context to this, Prof, do you think it's as bad as what it's been framed to be?
I mean, they should have lost these 2 games on paper. like they lost to VP and they lost to OG.
Yes.
VP number 15 in the world, OG number, I don't know, 6, top 10. And this is and Cloud9, a team that literally playing their first 2 games. If you look at it like that, it is expected for them to lose. The problem, I guess, is more we didn't really see much good over the course of these series.
It's only 4 maps, right?
Lost all 4 maps, only had I'd say maybe like 2 good halves, maybe. And overall, the team didn't really seem like a team. Overall, I think that's what a lot of people, that's the feeling they got, and that is going to be the problem with when we put together 5 players that never played together. I think no one played together before. It's going to take time to build chemistry, but I think the external hype that was built and the expectations from like Henry himself, plus the fact that they really didn't look good looking at the eye test, is why people are really kind of very critical about the team.
Yeah, look, Henry obviously put on a big song and dance about the team and the expectations and all that kind of stuff. And what that helped do was build the hype around this roster being announced, right? Because it was something thrown together under the Cloud9 banner, having Henry there. But the results, they've lost all their games. You can't put it any other way. If you look at the stats over those 4 maps, Woxic, the only player who went positive, right? You've got mezI, who was actually their second best player in that event. So if we were to go like down the line of players, arT, have you had much opportunity to practice against Cloud9?
I think we practiced like just once or twice, and not that much.
How did they seem in scrims? Do they seem like they had, like I know it's hard to judge, but was it?
No, I'm laughing because I don't remember what happened in the scrims. I have no idea. But actually, to be honest, I don't think they played many maps to maybe we cannot judge just based on like they played 4 maps. I think they lost 2-0, 2-0. And 2 of those were like very, very close matches. Like the one was overtime, another one was I think 12 or 13 or 14, something like that.
16-14, yeah.
Yeah, 16-14. So I think if they just won like 2 rounds, like important rounds, they could have wrecked the other team. Like CS is just like that sometimes. If you win 2 key rounds, you can make it maybe a match. It's like they went to a T. It could have ended like 16-9, and we just be saying how good they are. So maybe just a matter of maybe next tournament they fix those things up and they get lucky on 2 important rounds and they just wrecked everybody. Maybe just like that. We don't know yet.
Well, that's the thing, right? And I've obviously been a big critic of a team like OG since their inception as a roster, just based off of, in my opinion, lack of firepower in the entire team. And only just now are they really starting to cement themselves as a contender. And now that's even been unraveled a little bit with some of their more shaky results recently. It's obviously going to take some time for these international rosters to come together, right? If you just want to go with like Henry's hype and everything, which you can do because he set it up to now be punished for that, right? Like if you're gonna talk with the big talk, you have to be ready for the other side of that if things don't work out, and it hasn't worked out immediately. That doesn't mean it's not going to work out. Whether or not they're a contender for a top 5 or a top 10 or a top 15 slot, we still have a lot of Counter-Strike to hopefully see out of them before we know that. But one of my concerns, Prof, and I don't know how you feel about this, is like Floppy. We have over 4 maps of CS. Obviously, he went from being more of a starish player to now somebody who's in the deep end, right? He's playing European Counter-Strike.
He definitely didn't look up to par for over these 4 maps. He looked like someone that was not ready to play European teams and play these teams in the role that he was given in Cloud9. So maybe if he was playing the same thing that he played in the old lineup, maybe it wouldn't be the same. But like it was like you can't really mask it. It was terrible. I think it's 0.79 rating over 4 maps, and this is not like a guy that runs in and suicides for everyone. So he can maybe like he was playing I don't know A on Mirage and he had like 4 kills in the CT half. So stuff like that is like you can't expect much from a team when all of the other players are also being like wishy-washy, and then you have one guy that's like completely shitting the bed. Like that's not helping, definitely. But maybe with time it changed. But for me, it's a red alarm and something to keep an eye out if he can even fit into this lineup at all.
Well, he would be like, and I know they've just started, right? But if I was going to hazard a guess, if there was any player that was probably going to get like replaced for more of an upgrade, it would probably be Floppy early, right? Like just out of all the names in the team, Mezzi's the one who's more unknown, but he actually seemed
He
all
kind of
right.
delivered.
Yeah,
he had some clutches and all of that. So like he had some good moments. Like overall, I think he delivered to what you could expect from a guy that this is his first time playing on this level.
Yeah, I think there was one map in that OG series, the first one probably, where Alex didn't get off to the best of starts.
Yeah, that was so rough.
Yeah, but like this is the thing as well. Alex has been out of Tier 1 Counter-Strike since February or March this year, right? Whenever it was that he stepped down. So we can come in with all these expectations. But yeah, the debut, it wasn't a good one. We'll see them in Blast soon. They'll be playing in that showdown. That's going to be a rough one. I think it's a single elimination best of 3 format over there, right? For the showdown.
Be rough, very rough.
Oh dear, that's some cutthroat shit right there. That's
it's funny because when I play with Floppy on NA, he's actually a very solid player. I don't know what's happening there. Maybe it's just because 4 maps are very small space to see what's happening. Because if you're gonna judge by 4 maps, we could send FURIA back to Brazil because we play terrible these 4 maps. So if you're gonna judge it by 4 maps, I think it's not very fair for the Cloud9. But it's a letdown debut for sure.
All right.
Yeah, definitely. Like he's not gonna be kicked today. So, but it's not a good like measuring step or whatever. I don't know.
Sure. Well, moving forward for them is like having to play that opening game. It's against IP, I think. That's not going to be easy for them either. So, once again, in these games, if I was on the analyst desk, I would just be looking for them to be competitive within these early stages, right? That's where I would set the bar. Especially, this is the thing I get, like that group that they were in, VP and OG within that Flashpoint tournament are 2 of the absolute best teams, right? I would say outside of VP and OG, the next 2 best teams are probably Big and
Shirley, and I don't know who else.
I was gonna say maybe Fnatic, but like Mad Lions are looking better than Fnatic recently, so you could probably throw them in the mix, right? So like we talked about this on the not last show, but the one before. Like I think most of us had VP going for a really deep run. So that was the toughest group for Cloud9. So let's see if that changes in the future. Let's see if we can get any more out of them. I know that they're working hard. Now we can focus a bit on this showdown here because there's a perfect segue. Art, you boys, you've got some, I guess, some revenge that you're going to be looking for in the showdown. Your opening matchup is against Isurus. Now, you guys seeded yourselves in that one, right? All the teams seeded themselves. Is that how the last one worked? Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys got the highest seed, right?
Yes, we got the highest.
All right. How do you think that was? Do you think that like you guys deserve to be the highest seed out of all those teams there?
Actually, don't really saw the other teams in the lower part of the bracket. Let me check.
Like Evil Geniuses, Complexity,
Mouse,
Liquid
haven't played.
IP, yeah.
VP. Like there's a lot of interesting names here, right?
Yeah, judging by the recent results of us in the ENA against Liquid and EG, I think that's fair to say. Maybe Mouse could, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's fair. I think it's fair. Yeah.
Based off like the results you guys have been having this year, clearly all those trophies must have helped a lot. And I think like this is why I think that teams realize that you guys probably just had a bad event if you're still getting put as the highest team from your peers, right? Going into this one here, it looks like most likely you're going to have VP in the second round. Have you guys had much run-on with them in practice? Have you watched much of them?
We actually did not practice against VP. I'm quite sure about that. And I'm really just thinking not going steps ahead. I'm just thinking about Isurus for now. And let's try to win Isurus. After that, we can think about the next teams.
Okay. All right. Well, looking at Isurus, right? You guys are the heavy favorites there. Like the heavy. That's people. I want to say from your region. Obviously, you've been playing within North America for some time. But is this the same guy that got the jumping no scope the other day, Prof?
Yeah, that is him. That is
Johnny Boy.
Johnny Boy did it in the qualifier for this actual event. So it was like a pretty crazy match from what I saw. I think it was overtime on all 3 maps against 9Z, whatever. Okay. So. And they managed it, like that was an important kill, an important round in the whole scope of them now playing FURIA like in a couple of days.
Sure. All right. Well, I've just put a link in for Lucas to bring up on the stream for everybody. This is the Showdown single elimination bracket. We'll bring that up in a second. And what we'll do is, I think with you here, Art, we'll run through all these matches, and you can tell us who you think are going to win all these openers. Right? We'll get your expert
let's
opinion,
go.
because I think if we take a look at this here, let us know when it's up on screen, Lucas. I can't see. All right. So we got FURIA Isurus. Well, let's just everybody sit here and say FURIA is going to win that one. But as we go down the list, who do you think is going to win, Spirit or VP? That's a hard one being domestic, but yeah.
Yeah, but I have to say Virtus.pro. VP has been a good farm recently. VP.
Yeah. Okay. FaZe MIBR.
Oh, that's gonna be tough. But actually, let me. Yeah, man, I have to say it's gonna be biased, but I think MIBR gonna win this one.
Okay. Well, they won't be able to play Vertigo, right? That's one of their best maps at the moment. FaZe is definitely going to ban that. But I can see where you're coming from, right? Like when we spoke to FaZe just when they qualified for the Beijing playoffs, it was all about, they're having fun, they're having a good time. Wonder how long they can hold on to that type of good mood for.
Yeah, it's a good mood, like a hype. It's a very strong thing. I think they're gonna have a good shot against FaZe. They're not the favorites in any sort of way, but I think they can win this one.
Okay. Liquid Mad Lions.
Liquid. Hard
Okay.
one,
yeah, that one we haven't seen Liquid obviously play internationally all year, basically. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup. EG Endpoint.
Yeah. EG.
Right. Mao's GODSENT. Oh dear, that's a mess.
I have to say Mouse. I don't see other option for myself.
Complexity Sprout.
Complexity.
And NIP Cloud9.
Man, that's tough for Cloud9. Damn.
Are you giving them the benefit of the doubt?
I am, but NIP, they're been looking very strong recently. We even scream against them. They are looking very good. It's gonna be very tough for Cloud9.
Yeah.
Damn, bro, that's tough after losing two games in a row. They face NIP.
NIP are kind of still that like solid team that it's like if you beat them, you're really good. Like they rarely lose to underdogs, and like Matt, like I don't know how you rank Cloud9 at the moment, but I'd still say like bottom top 30. That's kind of their level right now, since we didn't see them play much. So I think this is like a massive overdog situation for NIP that they usually don't really lose.
Yeah, I think NIP gonna win. I'm cheering for Cloud9 because they deserve a little win after this debut, but I think it's gonna be NIP.
Yeah, it's gonna be fucked. That's gonna be a very difficult one there, and lots of good names. And I like the mix here. It feels like we have, some good matchups. We get to see more North American Counter-Strike coming over to European soil. The newer rosters in the mix is always interesting to see, like Sprout pushing a team like Complexity. They're always good for their prep work. We've got Snatchy and dHar in the mix there. So a good little one here. Top two teams make it through, right? The top two go through to the
Yeah.
So could be a FURIA MIBR grand final. That would be always fun for a rematch.
That would be insane. I would love it.
We get a lot of the Brazilian viewers. They love it. We had that a couple times here. Obviously, now that it's the new MIBR, it's less of there's less of that grudge that got built just around the last time we had BLAST going.
I think we were actually just going to talk about. Didn't we want to talk about that when arT disconnected about the BLAST situation, like them playing MIBR? Was that what we were?
We were heading there. We were definitely going to ask that whole question. I know that I spoke to arT privately about it at the time, and I made my kind of opinion very publicly known about that whole situation. But like the way that it was kind of framed from the community is, it felt like the majority of people, other than the Brazilian MIBR fan base, were on the FURIA side of things. Is that how it felt to you at the time?
When it happened, like the same day?
Well, like just even a week, because it was the drama dragged on for a little while.
Yeah, the day was very tough, the drama, because everybody was like against us, and I felt like the community of MIBR is so huge that everything they do and say impacts so much in the community, in everything, like the social medias, they explode. So I think that was in the day I felt like we are doing wrong, but afterwards I saw the community shifting maybe towards thinking that was like not such a very impactful thing that happened in the server to justify the actions on Twitter, and I felt like that was just the mindset of the community and ourselves later on. But other day was very, very. We even could not play the third map after what happened.
Yeah, we were talking about that at the time. It was something that I we want to try and avoid happening. But then in recent times, we were even discussing the idea that like maybe Glaive was putting the heroic boys on blast over the whole coaching thing on social media publicly, and maybe that was intentional to rile them up as well. So it's one of those things where, especially mid game, like you and I have spoken about this mid game, like I don't think you can be doing stuff like that, because the fallout, especially considering the fan base, is one that it's a scary fallout, right? Because it's all these people who are your countrymen, and they've got the pitchforks out for you, and like that's not a nice feeling at all. So is it something that you think that, like, have you spoken with the MIBR guys about it? Are you guys on friendly terms, or is it something that maybe in the future you guys would look to reconcile?
We actually never had like a very we're not friends with MIBR players since the beginning. We never really talked to them or were friends. So I think that was just like we never really talked to them. We just used to scream and talk in the game, but just nothing special. And I think after that was just the same thing. We just not talk and just keep like that.
Okay.
Strictly professional.
Yeah, that was basically what happened, and it happens. I don't know what to say about that.
No, look, I get that, and it's one of those things where they obviously being the top dog from Brazil for such a long period of time, and then having you guys who almost independently got there, right? Like they must have inspired you guys as you were coming up as players, but you guys did your own thing. You played your own style. You made a name for yourself. It must be difficult for them to lose that throne and to lose it to you guys who are playing some brilliant Counter-Strike. So that's always going to be a difficult like handover period, I guess. There's always going to be some not hurt feelings, but some bruised egos is probably the best way to look at that. We'll keep this moving because we're about to get into a lot of Brazilian Counter-Strike, and I'm sure that we're going to talk a lot about the MIBR and FURIA type of stuff there. Now, I've just linked the bracket to you, Lucas, for the IEM Beijing playoffs. So we'll just have a quick little run through of these, similar ways what we did with Blast there, and just chat what's going to happen and who we think is going to win. So we get that one up on screen, and let's just jump into this here. Prof, when you look at this bracket, which matchup jumps off the screen here as the biggest blockbuster? Because there's a few storylines.
I think for me it's like Astralis Navi, just because we didn't really see them play a lot. I think they played two best of something series this year, and what was the grand final Pro League, which was the
reverse sweep, right?
Reverse sweep 3-2 from Astralis, which is I think one of the most viewed games of the year as well. I think there were some records around that. So for me, that's going to be definitely a big game. And these are the two teams that, if this wasn't the online era, would probably be like top 5 consistently throughout the year. With all of that has been happening, has been kind of weird, but like last year, this would be the grand final of a lot of tournaments. So for me, that's the most exciting one.
We've got Heroic Vitality, which is the rematch of the Cologne grand final, as well as the DreamHack Open 4 grand final. Was it? Is that who Heroic played in the final there? I think it was.
Yeah, it was 2 events definitely in 2 grand finals.
So there's some fun little, I guess, storylines to take there. The first time round, I think Cologne was the 3-0, and then the most recent time at DreamHack Open 4, that one was all 5 maps. It was a 3-2. What else we got here? Obviously, we've got FaZe versus G2, since Nico's left them. So there's that grudge match just there. And then the one that doesn't really have much bang for its buck is Complexity versus Big. But I think if you look at that matchup on paper, traditionally, Big are the ones who have been getting the better of Complexity, which does sound a little bit surprising. But just if you check the stats this year, they've played a bunch of times. Big have beaten them European Minor Open qualifier. So that was obviously during one of the major situations for ESL1 Rio before it got postponed. Big won that one. The only time Complexity beat them in a home sweet home cup, sorry, and an ESL Pro League Season 11. But since then, Big have beaten them in DreamHack Masters Spring, CS Summer 6, and Blast Premier 4.
That's like a good match, but compared to the rest, which is like low-key, just an amazing bracket that we got here, it's just like, whatever, just another classic online game that we see a lot of during this pandemic.
So having a look at this one here, Art, who do you think? Let's go through all the matches like we did with you. So the first game, FaZe G2, who are you picking?
That's gonna be a very fun game to watch. I'll be sure to watch this one. I think G2 is gonna win.
G2's gonna win. Okay, you think they're
Yeah.
gonna get it like easy, or do you think that FaZe are gonna give them a hard time?
I think one map is gonna be a little easier. The other is gonna be very tough.
Okay. Yeah, no, there's always because Mirage is very likely in this matchup here. I think that FaZe probably might comfortably peek into that, whereas G2 they could go a lot of different places. There'll be no overpass. There'll be no vertigo. Maybe G2 have looked pretty good on nuke, so that one's curious there. Astralis Na'Vi. What about this one? This was a tough one to pick.
Very tough. I have to say Astralis.
Okay.
They don't look so dominant in the recent matches. I was watching them play against MIBR and G2, and I did not felt like they were just playing as dominantly. So I have to say Astralis, but it's very tough one. It's
What
gonna
do
be
you
a very
think-
close game.
What European team does look the best to you actually now? Because we have the rankings, but it's weird. Like they change a lot. We have Vitality #1, then Heroic, then Astralis, and this back and forth. Like from what you saw from the player break, let's say, and now that you're here playing this team, what do you think is the best European team?
I did not practice against those teams a lot. I think Vitality we never practice against. I think Heroic we just practice just once or twice.
Oh,
But I have to say Heroic is looking very good. I would say Heroic is one of the best teams right now in my opinion. Na'Vi and Astralis are always like easy picks for to say they're like the best ones. But I have been enjoying to see Heroic play.
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Heroic can keep this up, right? That's one because sometimes their gameplay is really aggressive, sometimes it's really strat heavy. I'm interested to see how long they can keep going with their style. Who was the next matchup here?
We had Complexity Big, I think, next.
Yeah, Complexity Big. Who do you reckon's taking that one?
Oh, that's a good match. I think Big is gonna take that one.
Okay. And then the final one is Heroic Vitality.
That's very tough again. I have to say Heroic. Yeah, Heroic is gonna take that one.
All right. And then overall, so you picked you win it. You win into the first round. Who's making it to the grand? Who do you think's winning the grand final?
Grand final. It's either Heroic or Vitality, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. You reckon whoever wins that game makes it all the way to the final and probably I could see that. I think it's going to be tough for Complexity against both Heroic and Vitality. Well, no, or Big. Both of those matchups. But actually, all the matchups here actually have some good storylines to it.
I could have missed everything.
Yeah.
If I am wrong every match.
That's the thing, right? A lot of these games are like there's only the smallest margins defining them. Now, we're going to move into the next little section of the show, which is to do with Brazilian Counter-Strike. Now, let's preface this as we jump on in here. You have been competing in North America for some time now, right? How long has it been that you boys have been in NA in Florida?
That's been 3 years and a half.
Okay,
Or
so
2 years and a half, maybe 3.
I
think 2.5 should be around that. Yeah.
Yeah, 2.5. Yeah.
How connected to the rest of the Brazilian scene would you say you are? Like considering that you are competing in North America.
I'm very disconnected from any scene. Just the one I'm playing. I actually watching. I watch some games and I talk to the FURIA Academy, so I have a good sense of what's happening. And I see some finals, but not really connected deep.
Okay, so some of these questions here, maybe you won't be able to go too in depth, but we'll try and see if we can get through them anyway. So we're looking at MIBR, who have just changed their roster. Whoever's got Team 1 in the mix, they've recently had a roster change as well. I believe they brought in, was it an Argentinian? Then we've got we've obviously we're talking about Boom. Like in terms of the teams from the region, like how is it looking? From your perspective, do you think there is a chance for another Brazilian team to break through and be consistent on the world stage?
Yes, I think so. I think Boom, when they get out of Brazil and start playing on NA or Europe or just international tournaments, I think they're gonna be a very good team. And I also like to see T1 playing. They evolved so much since they started playing on A, and I think they're ready to play some bigger tournaments. I think they just need a shot to qualify or for bigger tournaments. I think they're gonna be a strong team.
Okay, so yeah,
Team 1 is an NA, and they have this Barton kid, 18 years old, 1.18 rating last 3 months.
Yeah.
Can you tell us anything about him except what I just said, that he has a 1.18 rating and plays in NA?
Yeah, sure. He's like an anchor on most maps, and he's very solid at that. And he's like also an AWPer. He's played all around, so I think he's just generally a very solid player. And just by being young, I think he has a lot to learn and a lot to improve on. And I think he's a very good player. Look forward.
What about looking at this year project? They've added 2 North Americans, right? Does that seem strange to you, or is that just a sign of the times?
No, I think that's actually a good idea for them. I think that the decision to bring 2 Americans was mostly because it's hard to bring Brazilians to. I think maybe impossible to bring on this time of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And they want to change players, and maybe just find it easier to put Americans. But I think the idea is actually good. I think mixing up the teams with putting the roster to speak English, I think that opens up the possibilities for the roster, because when you start speaking English, you can put basically any player in the world. So I think that's a good idea.
Well, we've also got the new MIBR roster now. Keeping out of the fact that you guys played them in Blast, when you saw that this team was announced bringing Lucas to join the squad, or to be the temporary stand-ins, right? What did you think of the players that they had chosen? Did it make sense to you why KNG and TRK had picked those 3?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense actually. VSM has always been like one of the. Oh, that was not for me the question, right?
No,
It was.
Okay, sorry. I think VSM has always been like a prodigy in the scene, and he has been like a amazing rifler and a very good all-round player. And I think his this opportunity to play on MIBR was just the perfect one for him. And I think the vibe of the team was just kind of the same. And they just put the 3 younger players, very good ones, and very uh, very good promises overall. And I think that was a very good decision.
Was there anyone else that could have fit in this team, like as one of these 3 new additions? You don't have to say like instead of who, but like any other names that were kind of on this level that could have been in the MIBR project. Was that like this Barton kid was someone that people kind of are mentioning, and Dumao as well, right?
Oh
Those
yeah,
are the
if
2 names
they are
I
willing
hear a
to
lot.
buy players and pay the buyouts, I think those players are like the top picks. Maybe like if they want to get like a small player from Brazil, I think they have like Lato. That's a very good player from Brazil. And there are some like pain players like Bigozera and Safe. But Safe is an opera, but they have some very good choices in Brazil as well. I think they just could choose a lot of younger players as well, but they chose those 2 that are very good choices as well.
I have a bit of a question here, and it might seem like a divisive one in a way, but when we see the cameras of this new MIBR team playing, like KNG's getting everybody fired up, and you can see just how much he loves the game and how passionate he is for competition. Are you surprised he wasn't able to bring that to the old MIBR team?
Surprised?
Well, like obviously he was passionate like that, but he couldn't make everybody else be with like this, because like with TRK, with this crew, like you can see that everybody's buying in. Like I don't know what the fuck KNG's saying, but if he was there saying that stuff in front of me, I'm going to war for that guy, right? Like I thought, because I project, like one of my thoughts with KNG joining the old MIBR roster, I was excited. I was like, oh shit, he's going to bring this fired up passion. He's going to breathe some life into Fallen and Fur, and we're going to see MIBR go back to that team who we remember from 2015, 2016 with like coldzera fucking standing up and taunted. Like I thought that's what KNG was going to bring to that team, but that obviously didn't happen then, but it's happening now. Like, do you think that was just like a leadership thing, or what do you reckon?
I think Kenji is a very emotional player overall. Like he's driven through emotion. I don't know how easy it is for him to like fake emotions to make the team better. I think he's getting quite good at it since he's a IGL and he has to do some stuff like that. But I also think that it's very easy for the team to have that atmosphere now, because you have VSM and Loudrunk. Those 2 players, they are like it means everything to them to play on MIBR and to play on Europe. That's just like a dream coming true for them. So it's I just feel I just think that they feel amazing to play there. And so the hype and everything is just like the atmosphere should be like just as great. And also Lucas, he's just like Henny. They're like twin brothers. They are very hyped players, like hyped people, you know. overall outside of the game. So I think the atmosphere is just like could not be better.
I think I have one story of Leo Drunky when there was the StarLadder minor, actually the South North American minor, and they were playing. That was Sharks. Leo Drunky was in Sharks, and they were playing against KNG and INTZ. I think that was the ENCE actually, and that was one of the classic like shouting matches where like every round someone clutched and they were like getting up, yelling against like to each other and stuff like that. And I know something happened in the match, and like I wasn't sure what happened. And later I talked to I think him, and he told me what the exact thing was. Because of course you come up, you start shouting, your headphones go off, then you put them back in, you start playing. And in one of those situations, he swapped his earphones.
Fuck.
Because he was like getting up to yell
Yeah.
against KNG. And of course, yeah, then in the round, he was like, okay, they're coming from the right. He turns around, he gets killed in the back, loses the round. I think they lost like something like 16-14 or some shit like that. And that was actually an important round. And his coach was saying, like, you need to chill out, man. Like, you're here, you're the new young guy. KNG's been doing this for like 10 years already. You need to just like chill, play your game, don't get too excited. But yeah, he's one of those guys that's also like fully explosive.
The thing with that is it's quite a steep fall off. Have you experienced that, Art, where like everything's going good and you're getting fired up and yelling, but then when you're losing, there's not that energy? Like, have you ever experienced the downside of that?
Of course, yeah, of course, that happens a lot.
What do you have any like? Well, have you? Because I used to be the type of player who yelled a lot and get fired up and was a bit of a momentum player, right? Like, but for me, when that wasn't there, I never was at my best. Like I never worked out a way to supplement that. Like, do you guys have a way if things aren't going well to kind of keep that energy or get fired up, or you now worked out you don't always need that energy?
No, we try to work it out. We don't. It's never a good thing to let the energy go down. Usually, it's a bad sign, and you're gonna lose the match if that happens. So you always have to find ways. Even if you're feeling like you're gonna lose or feeling that you're not happy enough to scream, you have to fake yourself to believe you're in that point. So when you fake your brain to do that, it's easier and it's get natural because you're telling yourself to do that, and you just motivate other players to be with high energy as well. So yeah, I think that's necessary for the game, because if you're not confident and you're not happy to play and not like willing to do stuff, you're not like giving yourself, it's gonna be very hard to win.
Sure.
And I have to ask something about when you're talking about like happiness and stuff like that. Vinny is a guy that's like literally always smiling. I also have like an anecdote from the same, like that was a StarLadder major qualifier or something that you guys played and you ended up eliminated early. And I know I was watching the game and I'm like, oh fuck, FURIA is gonna lose. And then I start walking towards like the player area or something, and I see Vinny coming out, and he's like fully smiling. I'm like, okay, FURIA made it back, like they made a comeback or something. Then I look at the score, you lost like 16-5 or something, eliminated from the tournament. But Vinny's like super chill, smiling, good atmosphere. Like, what's the deal with that? Like, why? How can he always be positive? Like, is he actually positive? What's going on there?
I don't really know. I think he smiles for everything. He's just like just like that himself, like a person. He's nervous, he smile. He's losing his smile. He's winning his smile. So I think that's his character is like that. I don't know. I don't know how he feels internally, but he's always showing a smile.
So let's move forward to look at the teams in the South American region. So we've spoken about Boom a bit. Obviously, they're the ones, the top dogs right now. But you guys have the FURIA Academy team, right? Like, what is the scene like down there in terms of how competitively viable is it? Is there like a strong nurtured scene compared to like how North America's falling off right now? Is there a lot going on in South America and especially Brazil in terms of CS?
Yeah, they actually have improved a lot since I left Brazil. At the time, there was just like maybe 2 leagues that were happening at the same time, and they're not like a big stuff. But now they have like a sponsor, and they have closed leagues, and they have a lot of ways to play. I think that the scene in Brazil can grow a lot more because they have so many players and so many teams and so many people wanting to make it better. But I also think it got way better since then.
Is it integrated in the sense down there that it is just like Brazilian teams and players competing in this, or because look, I'm pretty ignorant in Australia. They didn't do a good job of geography. When you go and actually look at Brazil with that map that shows you true size or whatever it is, Brazil's fucking huge. Like, is there much playing with other South American countries? Obviously, we know the Argentinians you guys down there play with and against on a regular basis, but is there much more down there?
Yeah, there's a lot of hermanos. We call them like that, or maybe boludos sometimes when you don't like them. And mostly it's just Argentinians, Chilenos, Chile, and maybe Uruguay players. But like Mexico players and Colombia, they don't have way to play on our servers because the ping is way too higher, and it's actually easier for them to play on NA servers. Even like Malbs, he's from I think Guatemala, right? The T1 player, Malbs.
I'm not sure actually.
I think he's.
I'll take your word for it.
I think he. Oh yeah, that's not. I thought
that was an Argentinian flag.
I'm not gonna say.
Oh
anything.
my god! I think I just said that. Okay, yeah, okay, all right.
I thought it was an Argentinian flag.
Well, now we know.
Yeah, like it's not South America, it's like Central America, but it's also there's like some countries in South America. I don't really know which ones, but it's easier for them to play on NA servers. And some countries I think they cannot play on Brazil, neither NA servers, so they don't have a scene actually. So it's very tough. But yeah, we've played a lot of players from those countries.
Okay. Are there any up and coming like names or teams that you think that we should be keeping an eye on in the next, like, I know the world's fucked right now, but let's assume it's not going to be fucked.
I mean,
for that much longer.
did get like they just played there and qualified, so they flew to Europe to play the BLAST Showdown, right? So there are still chances, I guess, for teams to show themselves even during this time.
Yeah, hopefully next year they're gonna have more opportunities, because some teams, they are good, but they don't have the opportunity to show themselves and improve. And I think that I mentioned like every team that I think they have a potential to be like a international team soon. And just one thing I did not talk about was like Havan Liberty. They are a very strong team in Brazil. I think they have a good potential coming up, but otherwise maybe like most teams, they have rosters that are always changing, and they're mixing up, and they're being getting out players for other teams. So it's kind of like a little mess in Brazil. But those teams are sticking together. I think they have a good future.
Okay. Any names? You said Safe before as an AWPer. You were mentioning a couple there. Is there any you want to? Is there any players that you think are going to be standouts? The next big Brazilian star.
Who's going to be the guy that you pick up for your sixth player for FURIA? That's the name that we want.
Yeah, we still do not choose the 6th or 7th player yet, but maybe I saw like Detona in Brazil. They have a player, very young one. I think it's called Zevi, and he has also a very strong AWPer. I think he's a very good upcoming talent. And think off my head, I don't really, because Lato, I said it before.
Yeah.
And like the pain players and players, they are actually playing on A, so they are not like upcoming talents. They are already talents, you know. Like Dumao, he's one of the strongest players in Brazil right now, and he's just on A, so I don't consider him like a Brazil player to upcoming talent.
Sure, that makes sense. Okay, well, where are we at here?
I think we can go to the playtime. We have a lot of questions, so we can do that.
I wanted to dive into a bit of free time, so this makes it all perfect. Lucas, get ready to run the bumper. Let's go there. All right, we are back and we are going into playtime now. Playtime, if you're not used to the show, we get to ask a bunch of questions, a bit more off the cuff, a bit more conversational right now. You would have seen on Twitter earlier today asking questions for arT, and one of the things that we'll be doing here is actually giving away a mouse from our sponsor XTRFY. So what we're going to do is, this mouse here that Prof's holding up, arT, we're going to ask arT a bunch of questions from the community, and then he can pick which question he liked the most, which was the best question for him, and the winner of whoever gets picked wins the mouse. So simple as that. So let's start with the questions, Prof. What's top of the list?
Could we ask, just we didn't finish the hot seat, and the one question that we had there was about was about the sixth player for FURIA and overall like 6 players. And you also have like a guy from the FURIA Academy coming, or he arrived already in Serbia. Can you actually tell us about like what is the plan with the sixth guy, not the sixth guy, but the FURIA Academy player coming over, and then we'll continue forward.
Yeah, sure. Zombie, that's his nickname, Zombie. I call him Leo. He's like the IGL on the academy, and I actually talked to him a lot back in 1A when I was just practicing, and I also try to help him and the team to see things differently or help them to play better. So I have been talking to him for like 6 months, like a lot, and he's just always like a very willing guy, very wanting to learn and to be better. And as we are in Serbia just practicing, FURIA noticed that's a good opportunity to him to come here to actually practice with us and learn more. He's not going to be the sixth player, but he's going to be with us. I think it's 4 days from now, or maybe 1 week, something like that. He's going to be very soon here, and he's going to just learn from us, and maybe we learn from them as well, because just another mind thinking and talking to is always very good and productive. And about the sixth player, we did not choose yet how we're gonna proceed with that. It's still in the terms of talking.
So
yeah,
go, Prof.
I know what you're gonna ask anyway. So, yeah.
Well, I think the question that Prof and I were both thinking was how do you intend to use the sixth player? Is it going to be somebody that you like? Astralis have done it where they've changed a player per tournament. Is it going to be same as G2, kind of what they're doing now, or more like Vitality, where you have somebody who's specialized or coming in for certain maps?
Actually, there is a lot of ways to choose that player. Maybe he joins to the formal roster and he's get to be one of the players. Maybe he's just like be a spare player, because we don't know who we're getting and how we're gonna proceed with that. Because there's a lot of options and there is no certainty on what's better or what's worse and what's good, what's not. So we're gonna be experimenting with that, and depends on which player we get to be the sixth player. But I think it's just generally a good idea to have a sixth player, because happens a lot to not be able to play one match or one guy is not feeling well. And I have to play some games on official tournaments with fever, because we travel a lot to cold countries, and for some reason sometimes I get like like the throat pain, and I always get fever, so I get very sick sometimes, and I can just play like that because there's no other option. So I think it's just a good idea generally to have a sixth player.
Okay, so it's just something that you're playing with at the moment. You're going to wait and see how it all pans out. Let's jump into these questions, Prof.
Okay, there's a bunch of like different style, like fully serious, in-depth, dumb, funny questions, random questions. I'll start with just like a general one.
Well, I think you act as the initial filter. Anything that you think is shit, we won't ask, and then we can go from there.
So there's a question: if you were to IGL and EU teams, which players would you have picked to make your Colossus?
Ooh.
And then, given his team can't afford to buy simple Zaiwu, Nico, that's it. Those 3 guys you can't afford. But otherwise, you're like bought out by Henry G because he's already given up on the project after 4 maps. Like he's building a new lineup. Alex was a complete failure, getting arT to in-game lead. You picked like 4 European players.
4 European players. Okay, let me think. I cannot get simple and Zayu. It's not available. Too expensive.
And
okay.
Nico also too expensive.
Nico. Hunter is too expensive, or it's okay?
Hunter is fine.
No, Hunter is fine. Yeah, Hunter for sure.
Okay.
Would be one of them. Let me think. I actually look at the names. I like I like to play with mithR as well. I think he's a good player.
All right.
I'd like to see that. Yeah.
Hunter, mithR, arT. That's the 3 so far.
Okay. So do you need like an opper, or are you gonna take on the op? Or is mithR can also kind of op, so maybe he can fit in like the similar to the Henny style?
Yeah, I think he can fit. No, we can get an opper. Maybe Searson.
Oh, okay.
Okay. They should get opper.
Yeah. He's decent with the op. Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually insane. Scout as well. And last player.
So what do you actually need? Do you need like kind of a supportish, maybe more experienced player for the 5th?
Maybe I would get Alex Sib, because I would like to take a break of AGL and I would just give it to him sometimes, help me out through. Yeah, I think that's a dream team.
I don't think
Perfect.
anybody would have expected you to put this
No.
team together.
No.
But Hunter, Sirison, Alexi, and
And
mithR.
But it's actually like it's a team that realistically could be
Yeah.
built. Like
It-
so.
It could be real. All right. Who would you pick as the coach? You can have any coach.
Oh, any coach. I think that's harder than the players. Oh, you said that you cannot play as a player, but maybe you want to be our coach, Henry or Chad,
Ah, fuck. Yeah, sure.
There you
All
go.
right. Yeah, I'll coach.
if you want.
Put me in.
We,
Yeah,
we
man.
we are a good proms team. Maybe it works out.
As long as we're getting paid a lot, that's all that matters, right? Right.
Yeah.
All right.
There's another question. It says, I don't know if maybe this could be useful to some people. What techniques do you have to avoid getting nervous in a match? I know you're saying you're getting nervous before interviews. I don't know how nervous you are before matches.
Actually, in the matches when I play the game, I actually don't really feel much pressure or anything like that. I'm just so into the game that I don't really care about anything else. So playing the game is so much easier than doing interviews, I would say. I think I was more nervous to do the interview today than to play a tournament. So I think that's just easier for the player when he gets used to it.
There's also a not serious question. But maybe you know the answer as well. What's your personal best time of getting from T spawn to CT spawn?
The best what?
Your best time, like how much seconds does it take for you to, like, in the ideal scenario, to rush like
Ideal
mid on Mirage, go through the window and get into CT spawn? What's your personal best?
Personal best, I think, is maybe 12 seconds. I think that's my personal best.
I think like I've seen you on Vertigo, like running straight through middle into T Sport as well, and you're there within like it's like holy shit, how the fuck is he already here? And the CT's like, what's going on? There's some crazy pushes that you've gotten away with. I've got one. Art, I need your help. I need an expert in the field, and I think you're the right man for this. I need you to explain to me the Brazilian memes. What the fuck does it mean when they say come to Brazil?
Come to Brazil. I actually don't know the origin of that the meme. I think it's a quite old meme. I don't really know the origin of that. It's funny either way, but I don't know the orange. Maybe we should get another expert.
What about the spamming of the K? Like, what is that about?
The case spamming?
Yeah.
It's just like
That's how we laugh, bro.
Okay, that's your version of ha ha ha. All right. What
Yeah,
else?
we
What
are
else do I
unique
need to
laughing.
know? What else do I need to know about the Brazilian fan base and their memes?
Oh, the memes. Maybe Zika. You know
Zika?
Zika?
No.
Yes. It's something that like some casters like to do, especially Gaules.
Yeah.
It's when like the rounds is so easy to win, like it's 5 versus 3, and you say it's impossible to lose.
Okay.
You're like Zika. You're like zikando the round. You're
it's like jinxing.
you know,
It's like a
jinxing.
jinx.
Oh, okay. Someone just in chat has said Zika equals jinx.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, like if the caster says that, it's like cursing the round. It means they will lose it.
Yes, exactly.
We say cast the curse.
So
All
Henry
right.
G is an expert
Exactly.
on Zika.
In Brazil, we call it Zika. You're
Okay.
zikando the round.
All right. They always call me some bad names. Like is Safado a bad one? I don't know.
Safado?
Yeah, is that a bad one? I see that one getting spammed.
No. That's very good.
That's a good one. Okay.
Yes. It's very nice to be Safado. Yeah.
All right. What's the worst thing that the Brazilian fan base could say to me?
I don't think you want that.
Yeah, I would say the same. You do not even want to know because they can say some very funny bad stuff.
All right. Well, what can I say that's nice to the Brazilian fan base?
Something nice?
Yeah.
In what
If I want them
sense?
to be on my side, if I want to say like if there was like a comment in Brazilian, like is Safado that one? I don't know.
Safado, no, it's not
No?
Safado.
Okay.
Let me think. There's so many of them. I actually don't really think about one exactly. I read in chat. There's some that the most funny ones are not really very good to say on live.
Okay.
So they're saying Mula, but Mula, yeah, Mula, it's okay.
All right.
Yeah,
All right. We're
Mula.
learning today.
Okay.
We got
Nice
any
chat,
other,
nice one chat.
we got any other questions there, Prof?
So there are a question, in what capacity is Gary working with the team during his ban? Do you expect your performance to increase when he comes back?
Actually, the ban it's for official matches. So the only thing he cannot be it's before and after, and before and during the matches he cannot be near us, and that's has like an impact on our atmosphere in the game. But we can work it out. Like we are trying our best to make it compensate the Gary absence. But after the match is done, he's just working as usual.
There's another question. It's a similar one. Also mentions like your psychologist returned to Brazil, so you're kind of like working on your own.
There's one
Okay.
here that says, question to Art, when did you become such an ultra aggro player? How often does your style of play actually, I guess, buries your game / round? I don't know if he meant buries there.
I guess loses.
Yeah.
Or like puts you in a bad position, probably something like that.
So have you always been an aggressive player, Art, like since you started playing Counter-Strike?
Yes, I think from the beginning, because it's just the way I see Counter-Strike and the way I play. It's just the way I think it's best, the better one, the way to play. So I think that just like the way I play, and there's nothing much into it. I just play like that from the beginning, and yeah, sometimes it loses the round. It happens, but most of the times it works, and that's the reason I still do it, and I'm still gonna be doing it, and that's just like it.
Does it become difficult to continue to come up with new moves, like new ways to be aggressive? Because like players like Fur and JW are some of like the most aggressive players we've seen up until you. I think you take it to a whole nother level. But like eventually their moves get like figured out and people know what to expect. Do you always have to come up with new ideas?
Yeah, actually, I think of new ideas. Maybe every day, because
Okay.
CS has so many different things you can do and different ways you can exploit the game to play aggressive. And I think maybe in the future I can run out of ideas, but you just start recycling the old ones because they're going to be new ones for the team that we're going to be facing because
Sure.
they're not watching 2 years old matches or even 6 old matches. So I think it's never like going to be like it's over, you know. It's not going to be like that.
Sure.
There's a question about that, like says where did I lose? Before going against the team, do you study the way they use the map and execute in order to be able to push them and find like a timing, or do you do it in the moment with instinct? Like how does that balance?
Yeah, both. We actually have different ways of playing and studying the game in different maps. There's not like a global rule of playing. So there's certain maps that we like to exploit certain spots in the map. And if a player is not doing something he should do, and if he's not doing, we can go there and take that position, or just take that endo, or just punish the player. We're gonna abuse that. And a lot of things are just on the fly because when you're playing, you're gonna face different stuff, and you're not really know what to expect. It's like a mental battle because you never know if the other team is gonna be doing anti-strategy or doing own strategies, or just countering or not countering, or if they're gonna watch your matches or not. So you're just kind of having some things in the air in case you see what's happening, you're gonna counter, and some things are just on the fly.
There was also a question why you picked your username as arT, because the way you play is art itself. That's the whole question.
Actually, that was not like a really specific reason. I think that was just like the nickname arT, and I think that's a nice nickname. I just started using it. That's like a huge history behind it.
Okay. Just sounded nice.
Yeah.
That's an easy one.
Okay, so there's a question. Oh. Do you consider your play style
I cannot hear you. It's just me.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Hello?
We lost him? I can hear you, bro. I think we've lost Art.
For some reason, I cannot hear anybody.
Oh, shit. We've lost him again. Lucas, we need you to fix it.
He disconnected from TeamSpeak.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was timed out on TeamSpeak, but his video works, so
yeah,
he's probably going to be back.
Yeah, okay. Well, Lucas can fix that. There was a good question that I thought that I had, and now I've lost it again. My brain is not working today. I didn't take my fucking brain pills.
I wanted to
Yes,
ask.
I'm back. What?
Okay,
I have no
Hey,
idea
there we
what
go.
happened, but I'm back.
TeamSpeak just doesn't like you, so kicked you out. There's just expanding on like your playstyle. There's a question. Do you consider your playstyle a line that you won't cross? I guess he's trying to say that's something that you will never change. At some level, his playstyle might work against him since better teams could fairly easily punish this. Like, I guess the idea of the question is, let's say you come into a phase where you don't find success with aggression, like for an extended period of time. Would you be like, how would you approach that? Would you change the way you play the game, right?
Like the main reason I play like I play, it's because it works and we win games because of that. And so that's what drives me and the team to play like that, because we win with this kind of planning. And I think just like if you see FURIA, you see or arT or just FURIA overall, you think about an aggressive team that plays aggressive, and that's all what they do. But if you actually watch the matches, you can see that many of the matches we are not actually playing aggressive. It happens very commonly, but it's very easy to, when you see us losing, to assume that that was the aggressiveness that made us lose. And when you see us winning, you can assume sometimes that's the aggressiveness that made us win. And if you watch the games, sometimes both of those things are like untrue. It did not happen. Even if you watch our last games, even because I talk with new rosters, we tend to play more regularly, more common CS. I was not playing aggressive. I did not make any plays on some maps. Like I was just playing regularly. If I make a play, it was like once or twice, and it's not something that defines the game or the way we play. And sometimes CS is just CS. Maybe sometimes you just not hit one shot and lose the game. Sometimes your entire plan is spoiled. Your plan of playing the game is not good enough, and there are so many factors that just saying that aggressiveness is one factor to define a game. It's something that's untrue in the sense of that's the reason why you lose or win.
I mean, there's a lot of confirmation bias in CS in general. Like,
Yeah.
if people think something about someone, they're gonna always look at that, and that's gonna be the reason something happened or didn't happen. So I understand completely. Yeah.
I wanted to ask one about Gary, the coach. Right now, back when I remember seeing you guys coming through as a team, he would always be walking behind you guys back and forth, and he was probably just going over the game plan. But to me, it looked like you all had your eyes closed and you were sitting there. To me, I always had dreamt that he was getting you guys to meditate or something, right? Like, was it just the game plan and you're all just trying to center yourself? Is that something that like Gary brought in? Did you learn that from the mental coach? Is it something that you just decided to do as a team? Like, where did that pre-game ritual kind of come from?
Yeah, in the beginning of like last year, we had like a mental coach, that's Bernardo. He works with us, but this year he's working from Brazil because of the pandemics, and it's very hard to be together right now. But there's something we try to implement. I was like meditating before the games, and that actually helps us because when you try to clear your mind of bad thoughts, it actually helps you to be more reasonable if you're making decisions and just doing stuff. And I think that was just like what happened. And I think if you saw that, it was just like us trying to clear our minds to think straightly and not just thinking bad things.
Okay.
There's a question. Says Neymar being one of the owners of FURIA. Do you have any cool story about him or things with him? I guess.
Actually, we never even met him yet.
Oh.
Yeah, we
But did you play
never.
him in CS?
Yeah, we play with him sometimes. Yeah, he loves CS. He's like a passionate about CS, and he plays a lot. Sometimes he plays even more than us. So that's always. And he's a very nice guy as well. So we usually play with him and friends that are common, and it's always fun. But he's nothing. He's not the owner of FURIA or anything like that. He's just like a friend for us and like a fan.
Well, having Neymar as a fan would be a pretty good thing to have, I imagine.
Pretty nice. Pretty
do
nice.
we have any questions, bro? Any more questions, or should we get Art to help us pick here?
I think he should probably pick at this point.
So I know we just threw a lot of questions at you, but is there any of the ones that you just answered that stuck out to you?
I think the first one. I don't think that was a question, but I found it funny and I like it to say the Portuguese words.
Okay, well that was from me. So what we need,
Chad, you win the
Oh, you win the mouse,
I
bro.
get the mouse. No, we need
Yeah.
we need to make sure we give it to one of our lovely users, right? So what else did we have? We had the rosters. You're picking the roster. We had the
roster
we had the
was
time
fun.
to T-spawn, nervousness. We had most of the other things were about
Picking the
playstyle.
roster was fun. I like it. That's a good question.
Picking the roster. You
Okay.
like that one? All right.
Yes.
Who won that?
Tarek with a Q.
Tarek with a Q.
Tarek.
Yeah,
Tarek.
Tarek, probably not the Tarek from UT. Probably not that guy.
Okay.
I think it was on Twitter. We'll find the question and reach out to him. So
okay, so if that individual is watching, congratulations. If not, and you're listening to this later, congratulations. We'll reach out. We'll get that mouse to you. We'll work it all out. That's thanks to XTRFY and thanks to arT for picking that one. So we are almost at the end of the show right here. And what I've been doing lately, arT, with all the guests that are coming on, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the Counter-Strike world. You know, you've got your fans out there. Maybe there's misconceptions. Maybe you just want to say something nice. Maybe you want to say something mean. But right now, I'm going to give you the floor to say whatever you want in any language you want, or you can do it in multiple languages before we close down the show.
Yes, multiple languages, I would say. First, I would like to thank you guys for the space here. In the last year or 2 years, have been greatly like the community of international community in English. They have been like a great support for us and myself as well. And I would like to thank everybody that's supporting me and just commenting and just being a part of the community, not just Brazilian players as people as well, but also international fan base, and I always appreciate that, and I love to see it. And so I want to thank the community of international people, like everybody else, not Brazilian ones, and also you guys for the space here, because I would love to speak out of international places, because it's always fun to do that, and I love it. So I think that the English part is over. I would like to say something in Portuguese now.
Go for it.
Então, falei da rapaziada dos americanos agora, dos gringos e tal, para agradecer eles da torcida, do apoio, mas é especialmente para vocês também, né? O brasileiro é quem mais tem influência na nossa vida, é o povo que a gente joga para representar aqui fora, então vocês têm um carinho especial no nosso coração sempre, principalmente no meu, né? Então, só queria agradecer vocês por estar acompanhando a live aí, né? O Samuel também por estar traduzindo no chat ao vivo, fazendo mais do que o trabalho dele aí, que não é só fazer meme, né? Para quem vê, ele também é tradutor. Então, rapaziada, só isso mesmo. Agora a parada é voltar a treinar, voltar a jogar campeonato, porque é da hora fazer entrevista e tal, mas o nosso foco aqui é parado, tentar ser o melhor time possível, tentar evoluir sempre, jogar os torneios e ganhar tudo, é nosso foco. Então, fechando a live aqui, eu tenho treino daqui a pouco, daqui 3 minutos tenho treino. Então é isso, rapaziada, valeu por todo mundo que apoiou a gente, até nas derrotas agora recentemente, tem muita gente que apoiou, embora teve muita gente também que deu hate, mas tudo bem, eu tô acostumado, pode mandar hate, não tem problema não, pode vir. E é isso, rapaziada, tamo junto, e dá risada e faz meme, é isso mesmo, e é nóis, molecada, valeu, um abraço. That's it, guys.
Obrigado.
This brought me back to like the SK LG guys winning every event, and then after it, there was like Fallen taking the microphone for like 5 minutes, just like saying 1,000 things super fast in Brazilian Portuguese.
It looks good. There's lots of love hearts in the chat.
Yeah, people like it. Like we have an unreasonable amount of like Portuguese Brazilian people in the chat. So
that's good.
Like talking Portuguese is always like I don't know why, but I think it's like an emotional thing. I get nervous and I start stutter and I get very. I think the community is so passionate and that comes into myself as well, because I feel that, and it's just a great feeling of feeling like the warmth. I don't know how to say that. I love it.
No, I know what you're talking about, man. That feeling, like, especially because it's like they're your people. You're like the same countrymen, right? Like these are people who are enjoying what you do, and they're people that you can relate to on a lot of different levels, right? So there's always going to be that connection. And I just want to thank you for coming on the show. I want to thank you for being here today and talking to us through FURIA and all things Counter-Strike. It's been a good one. And we're going to be closing this one down, guys. So Striker wasn't with us today. He's off doing some other bits and bobs. We did have a couple of tech issues, but we got past it. We made it work, and we've had a good time. So thanks again to arT for joining us. Fuck, I can't speak. for joining us at the HLTV Confirmed for episode 16. We're going to be back next Monday. We're going to be back at the same time. That'll be 3 p.m. CET. Guest is not confirmed just yet. We'll be working on that one. I think Striker will be back with us. But as always, you can find the rebroadcast of this one tonight on Twitch at 8 p.m. We have anchor.fm/HLTV. That's got all the audio stuff for the audio listeners. And yeah, just continue to try and be nice humans. Smile like Vinny. That's the way we're going to leave this one. Good night, everybody.